So hi everyone, my name is Nathan Piccini. I am the marketing manager at Data Science Dojo, and I have Priyanka Jain with me today, and she's going to be talking about what she has learned in her career transition to analytics and data science. Jane is the CEO and president of Orang, which is a boutique data science consulting, and I think you also do some training over there as well. So Priyanka, why don't you go ahead and take it away, and I will just kind of mold into the background, and you can take the show.
Great, thank you. So the year is 2005. I am in the Adobe building. I have recently joined Adobe. I walk into the Adobe elevator is in level 2. So I walk into the elevator, which goes all the way for building, I believe it's called West Building, and goes all the way to, I believe, 18th floor or 17th floor. And I walk into the elevator, and along with me come a few other people. And one particular person, others seem to be very differential to him. I'm not sure. I've recently joined. I'm not sure who the person is. But I basically look at everybody and I smile. And then most people get off in lower floors. It's a tall building, so maybe 6th floor, 8th floor or something. And then I'm left with this gentleman. He looks at me and said, "What do you do?" And I answer saying, "I do analytics." At that point, it's called analytics. I do analytics, and I am working on doubling up Acrobat's revenue. At that point, he asked me, "Oh, how are you going to do that?" I said, "I'm going to find I'm going to increase the targetable segment called TAM, targetable segment for our email marketing I'm going to double it up, and I'm going to find, and so he asked, how are you going to double it up? I said, there are a lot of people who actually download Acrobat Viewer or Acrobat Reader. A lot of people download, and from there, we've never looked at those people who can look alike the current Acrobat, who do look like current Acrobat, subscribers. And I'm going to model it out, find the best ones from there who look like current Acrobat subscribers, and we're going to market to them, and that's how we're going to increase the marketable universe." So this gentleman shakes my hand and says, "Great to meet you," and asks my name, and I don't know if I asked his name or not. And then we exit. I leave on 17th floor, and I think he goes to 18th floor. 18th floor is all ELT. So that's executive leadership team. And that day I met Bruce Sisson, who's the CEO of Adobe, in the elevator. I didn't have my visuals, so I didn't know who he was. But the handshake, I will remember forever. He took time to get to know me, and he realized I was working on something important. And this was my almost, I would say, month 3 at Adobe. Right after a fresh career transition to data science. So that's the power of analytics. That's the power of data science. And so I want to walk you all through sort of what the journey has been. But I hope that gives you some idea of what the power of data science is. Before I go too much into my my journey, I'm going to kick this off and quickly tell you a little bit about my current role. Currently, as Nathan introduced me, I'm the president and CEO of Airing, and my journey in last 20 years, from the time I met Bruce in elevator to now, has been evolving my understanding of data science. So when I met Bruce, I was 2 years out of doing 2 masters, very academic, statistics, mathematics, and Adobe was my first real business job where I could apply analytics. Before that, it was sort of all theoretical to me. I knew statistics, I knew mathematics, but I didn't know analytics at that point. I didn't know, and what I mean by that is I knew the fundamentals, but I didn't know how to apply it, and the analytics as a subject hadn't quite developed into anything meaningful. So you knew statistics, you knew mathematics, and you know maybe OR. I knew coding, I knew modeling. I could take statistical equations and actually model it out, But really, how do you increase marketable universe for Acrobat? How do you reduce churn? I didn't know the connection. So that was my journey from 2005 onwards till today. I have been learning and then sharing how to put data science to work. And in this process, I've been keynoting and writing in different publications. I have a couple of books. One of them is Behind Every Good Decision, which talks about the framework, Nathan, you started talking about, which is Badr. Another one is very applicable for you guys. It's called Acing Your Analytics Career Transition. So that's something you guys can pick up. And in fact, a lot of things what I'll share today is from that book. So if you like what I'm sharing, you're welcome to pick. I think it's an Amazon Kindle for like $4 or something. So you are welcome to pick that as well. But essentially, my approach to data science is not pie in the sky AI models, which is also one of the things we do, but it's about how to put data that you have at hand to work. And anybody, I believe anybody should be able to do data science and at the level that they are at, whether they are a call center agent, or whether they are a marketing person, or whether they are data scientist. Quick intro on Airing. We are a data science management and data science consulting company. One of the big focus we have is on startups. We work with startups from about 50 to 200 people kind of range, $100 million in revenue. We do rapid fire data science consulting, identify the biggest opportunities for them, build their data engineering infrastructure very, very quickly, and start doing very, very foundational projects like pricing and building AI machine learning models, and so on and so forth. Quick reduction on the revenue optimization, acquisition optimization, which is what startups like, growth, and then managing costs down, so pricing and other kind of projects. The other kind of work we do is with the very, very large clients, with like Comcast and Google's, and we work and do company-wide data culture and analytics training work for them, building literacy across the organization. And the third body of work, we do have an academy. If any of you are interested, academy.airing.com, ARYNG.com, and we have courses there as well. And everything, all of this is powered by our 33-point Badr framework. And so this is what I'm going to talk about. This is ours, I would say, secret sauce, our value prop to our clients. Badr stands for, as an acronym for these 5 steps that you see. It's business question, analysis plan, data collection, insights, and recommendation. And the unique thing about this framework that I developed is it marries data science with decision science. And so, because we all know humans make decisions most of the time, and people and machines don't, algorithms don't. And so there needs to be a connection between data, people who are processing data, data science, as well as decision science, people who are going to make decisions. And that is what this framework does. So this is a very high level view of it, but if you are interested, you can pick up the copy of the book Behind Every Good Decision. It goes in a lot of detail. In fact, one chapter is like 50 pages long and goes into each step in great detail with an example. What Badr enables for us is it enables quick identification of highest value projects. Because we are hypothesis driven, we don't spend time just exploring data. We know, after identifying what the business question is, we know what our hypotheses are, and we use that to cull the data down and use a recipe-based approach to drive insights. So it's a way to accelerate insights from data. It also, because it has a decision science track, it helps align stakeholders together, because again, the people make decisions, not machines. And it also enables delivery of insights that actually get used. Many of you who are outside of analytics space may not yet know, but there's a huge amount of inefficiency in this space of data science, to the tune of, almost 1 to 2%, only 1 to 2% of projects actually drive significant value in the world of data science, unfortunately. So most of your work goes to waste. Badr, while it cannot completely take out the wastage, it takes out it to a large extent because it aligns stakeholders, because it is focused on really identifying what the problem is before we begin, and really focused on this aspect of planning before you're doing. So a lot about me. I would love also to hear from you all, those of you looking for advice on this transition or in the process of transitioning. What are you looking for from the session? What are 1 or 2 questions that you would like to get answered? in this process. I would love to, and I know a few of you are joining from all across the world. So if you could share, what are you looking for from this session so that we spend effective time together?
Yeah, hopefully Javier over in Spain isn't too tired.
Exactly. I am assuming, by the way, as you guys are typing, I'm assuming most of you are in somewhere in this journey of either a career transition or starting your career in analytics or actually contemplating it. I'm not sure how far out are you guys in, but that's my assumption.
Responses as like your assumption is correct that people are kind of in that zone of career transition. There's someone asking, this is from Reagan, what would you recommend as a best ROI for what to learn? And somebody else is saying, thank you. They're in their clinical career field and they're looking to attain a data analytics certificate. And what's a good way to get experience while still being able to earn for a living? So I think people are in that kind of career transition stage.
That's great. And I should mention my two master's degree one was in civil engineering, environmental engineering, and the other one was in computer engineering. And because at that point, I'm talking about dating myself 20 years ago, there wasn't a field called analytics. It was a very interesting place because we knew that some of us knew the math and the physics and the statistics part of it, but we didn't know how to apply it to business. The world is different now. And there are master's program with analytics in the title and data science in the title. There are MOOC programs. So there's a lot of, it's a legit field of study. It's a legit field of application. It wasn't so when I'm talking about my first job as a senior analyst is what I was called at Adobe. So it's I think we've come a long way in establishing data science and analytics as a field of study and application. So that's good to see. There are a lot more options here, but some of those things that I learned still stay the same. I'm going to talk about what I want. I thank you for sharing what you're looking for the session. I think it's in alignment with a lot of what I'm intending to do. And if, by the way, while I've gone through this, my 5 steps for you, if I don't answer some questions, please do save it for Q&A. I will answer. So first one, I would like to make sure that you all understand, just because data science and analytics is hot doesn't mean it's right for you. So I'm a big believer in following your passion. And if, for example, art is your passion, then, by all means, you will go follow that versus saying, oh, because this is a hot field, let me go for it. So I am going to talk about identifying whether the analytics career is right for you. And sometimes, you might be 5 years into analytics career as a data analyst and still not enjoying it. And that may be a good time to say, wait a minute, I don't think this is right for me. Can I do a lateral move? And way back, like maybe 7 or 8 years ago at A-Ring, when I was actually doing one-on-one mentoring for people I was helping people transition their career to data science. We still help with that. I'm just not doing one-on-one mentoring. But before, when I was doing one-on-one mentoring, there were a lot of people. I would say 20% of the people I would meet on a day-to-day basis, I would dissuade them from pursuing that career because it's not right for them. And I think it's very right. It's very important to follow your passion and actually not get into data science if it's not right for you. So we don't want to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about a systematic approach to career transition. So if you're an analyst, a true analyst, you have to be systematic. So might as well use that for your career transition as well. And I'm going to talk about what it takes to land your dream job and how do you even think about your dream job. For those who are looking for jobs, sometimes you feel like you're on the receiving end, but I don't believe that. I don't buy that. I think we are all drivers. We are all creators. And we all need to take that stance of being the driver of our career, our life. And it starts from really, like I said, understanding first it's right for me, then planning your path out, and then understanding that just kind of zooming in at that point to say, really, what would float my boat? What would make me happy? So I'm going to talk about some of that aspect as well. All right, so here's my recipe for your, your dream job, your 5 steps that I would recommend. The first one is, and we're going to go through each of these in detail. The first one is this your path, like I talked about? Second one is, once you're better established, yes, this is right for me, you should start identifying what is it that's your target job profile look like. Are you going to be good at as a claims analyst, or as a data analyst, or as a marketing analyst? Like all of those options you have. Once you've identified what you're going for, then we're going to talk about, you find the gap and you get trained. And then you're also going to talk about our resume. And then we're going to talk about interview. And lastly, land your job, be happy. So that's my 5 steps that I'm going to talk to you about today. So first one, where do you begin? Yes, there is a significant demand for jobs requiring analytics and data science skills. We've already established that. But is this for you? And in order to really establish that, and again, this question I'll ask of people who have been in analytics or data science role, and I've also helped transition a lot of senior folks, people who were like a head of operations. They have now become head of data science. So I've helped people with that transition hands-on. I mean, back 8 years ago when I was doing it hands-on myself, I saw that journey for many, many people at different levels in the organization. But I'll tell you the same thing. You still need to go back to the board and ask yourself, is this career right for you? And if the answer is, I'll answer that question with these other questions. Do you love puzzles and board games that involve strategy? Do you love figuring stuff out? Do you like problem solving? Have you taken any analytics aptitude assessment? Have you scored well? Are you a learner? And for those who are interested in analytics aptitude assessment, there's one on our website at airing.com. You're welcome to take that, and it's free, and you can get your score right away. I would say, from my perspective, if you score 16 or above in that one, yes, you're in the right place. So that's, but you don't need to take the assessment. I mean, overall, you should know that this is for you. So there is demand, and you have what it takes. Let's say you tick marked in all of those. The question is, are you ready? So what kind of job would you look for? And I want to talk broadly about some of these definitions, and that's the other one of the things which is happening in the world of data science is the same thing can be called with different names, and then the different and vice versa. So it's kind of very chaotic, the spaces. But I'm going to broadly talk about 3 main focus areas in analytics. There's the people who are business analytics professionals, people who are their 80% of their job is, and I also call them citizen analysts. 80% of their job is something other than analytics, and that could be, I am a marketer. I'm looking at pricing. I'm looking at product, and so on and so forth. And they want to come into an analytics job. So that's your business analytics professional. There are people who have their day-to-day job would be hardcore statistics, building models, and those titles look like statisticians, fraud risk analysts, security analysts, modeler, data scientist. That a lot of the data scientists, like I've put it in the middle here, but a lot of the data scientists are what we call predictive analytics professional. And then there's the data analyst, which is more coming from the sort of data engineering perspective: SQL, database, CRM analyst, data analyst, database marketing analyst, and so on and so forth. So those are 3 broad areas. Again, different people may be using these words differently, but I'm going to give you the construct and framework so you can match it. So how, again, the name does not matter. Think about these 6 skills that you need, and when the job that you're going for, what is the requirement? So for example, for a data analyst, they need basic business analytics and A/B testing skill, but they need advanced sort of data access skills, like whether they're doing SQL or no SQL or high, whatever, or they're using even a BI tool like a drag and drop, Tableau, whatever else. But a data analyst typically needs some basic skills on the business side and A/B testing side, but they need more advanced skills on the data access side, and they have some understanding of R, Python, and so on and so forth. More so Python these days. The other skill is the other roles are business analytics. And business analytics professionals, people who are on the business side and doing analytics, they need advanced business analytics skills. The A/B testing can be working. They don't need a whole lot of advanced statistical knowledge, and they don't need to write SQL queries and so on, or even write Python code. But they do need, drag and drop capability to get the data that they need. And then the third category is predictive analytics professional. They're also called often data scientists. They're also called statisticians. They need advanced skill on almost everything. They can be missing SQL, and which is fine. Meaning they don't need advanced skill in SQL. They need basic select star from where, but not the most advanced. But they do need the rest of them pretty advanced, I would say, and most of their focus is in statistics skills as well as using Python and Python libraries or R. So depending on what your background is, again, I do not recommend starting from scratch for your transition. Depending on where you are coming from, you might be more or less inclined for where you end up at. So if you're, for example, coming from, and again, this is I'm speaking from the thousands of career transition I've enabled. If you're coming from data engineering background, like your role is a SQL analyst, or you write DAGs on a day-to-day basis, ETL, and you're looking to go upstream into an analytics role, I think the easiest transition would be to data analyst role. If you're in business, you've done MBA, and you're looking to get into an analytics role, you are more. It's easier to get into a business analytics role for the marketing analyst and so product analyst, that kind of role. If you're coming from statistics, computer science, algorithms, like I was coming 20 years ago, your easiest transition is going to be what is called predictive analytics professional, advanced analytics professional, data scientists, statisticians, and so on and so forth. I hope this is clear. I know there's a lot of terminologies here, but as long as the framework is clear, these are the three different categories of where you may end up there. And it's important to know what you should target. If, for example, you're coming from a business background and you're trying to actually get into a predictive analytics professional, I would just say first get into a business role with analytics, like a business analytics role, before you get into predictive. I can't tell you how many people that I actually hands-on transitioned wanted to be a data scientist, and they did our, for example, Sue, she was a marketer and wanted to become a data scientist. And she did our courses. I think she did, the business analytics course, did very well. A/B testing did very well because we had projects after that as well. And then when she came to predictive analytics and machine learning and Python, she got lost. She never could complete that course. Halfway down that course, she said, Priyanka, I don't think this is right for me. I never intend to build models like this. This is very complicated. I am finding even the statistics needed for example, gradient boosted tree is too complicated. And I said that it's totally not a problem. So I knew to begin with that I think where you should end up it is in a more of a marketing analyst role versus trying to be a data scientist. So it's think about the easiest transition. Even if you think you want to be a data scientist, think about your nearest transition. And then, once you are working as a marketing analyst and you feel like, hey, I can pick up Python skills and libraries and I can build my, train and score. Yeah, that's something you can, and obviously understanding the fundamental statistics, you can go for that. Then the next step is, what is your ideal, what kind of jobs exist in the area that you are. I know that the world these days is very, very flat. You can be sitting in Spain and doing a remote job offered out of Google here in the Valley. So that's great. But as you look at your world, I would say do some search on, let's say, LinkedIn or whatever your local job portal is. What kind of analytics roles exist? I would almost go to just LinkedIn and put analytics and your geo or remote, whatever works for you. and then see what kind of jobs exist. Like for example, if you're in a city which only has 100 roles in analytics or less, and you're looking to transition your career in analytics, you're going to have hard time finding. If you're not going to change your cities, you're going to have hard time. So look at what we call in business addressable market, SAM-TAM. You do the same thing for your business as well. Figure out what that market is, and then read through a lot of these jobs. Read through a lot of these jobs and see what looks interesting for you. um, the job description, when you read through the job description, it should be like, oh, this is talking about me. That's when you know this is it, because there are, again, very many flavors. Three broad flavors I already talked to you about, but again, also in the domain, like fraud analysts, or fraud or risk analysts, they're very, very different. They do very different kind of work. Or underwriters, the analytics supporting underwriters, they're very different kind of work than on our product side. Or the product analytics, that work is very, very different, I would say, than the operations analytics. So look at the jobs and figure out what really works for you. And then once you have identified the jobs that you really like, identify your skills gap. So I would say, how do you decode job requirements? These are you don't need to write all this down, by the way. This is there in my book, Acing Your Analytics Career Transitions. I'm just copying from there. These are the 7 job requirements in any, these are 7 categories in the analytics role. You will see there's analytics skills requirement, there's tool skills, there's education, problem solving skills. They are often asking for communication skills, functional background, industry experience. So you would see that some of the data science specific related stuff is 1, 2, and 4. 3 is across most roles, but for the data science role, it will be more engineering or technical focused. Communication is across the board for whatever job you're applying. The 6 and 7 is very much about people wanting, for example, if your past role has been in bank, then it's much easier for you to find an analytics role in banking. Or if your past role has been on, let's say you were in the fraud role, but you were more on the underwriting side, or you were more on the front end side, like fraud agent, it's easier for you to go move back from fraud and say stay in fraud and do fraud analytics, because you have that functional 6, 7 is there. I hope that understands. And then look at what the job requirement is across these 7 categories. Look at what your background is, and that should give you a gap. So for example, the job requirement is business analytics skills. You should have passion for data and and demonstrate experience putting data to work. And your background is that you have interest in data analysis, but you don't have any training. That means you need hands-on business analytics skills, right? So it's again systematically decoding my ideal job. What is the requirement for my ideal job? And not one, you see 6 or 7, build an average and figure out what are those requirements talking about. And then you see what your background is. And then you see what is it that you need, right? For example, I did and again, I know this is a bit of an eye chart. You don't need to note this down. This is again there in my book, Acing Your Analytics Career Transition. But specifically, for example, this role, the statistical tool skills, technical skills is a plus. So that means it's an optional requirement. You don't have it. You don't need to meet it. Really. And any programming background that you have, you can use that to show I am not afraid of black screens or blue screens, whatever. So basically, zooming out, the job requirement, your ideal job, that requirement, your background, and then from there identify your gap, and we call that skill matrix. And then comes the step 3. So the training, what training I need, comes after you've done step 1 and step 2. And I can't tell you how many people start with step 3. They say, hey, I need to get into data science. Let me do this master's degree or whatever else. But you don't even know what you're going for, and for whatever you're going for, do you need, what kind of skills you need. So really step 3, the skills training, tools training, all of that comes as step 3. You need to do some of the groundwork. And the good part is the step 1 and 2 is just your internal research. You don't need to spend money, do anything till you reach the step, I would say step 3, 4, right? One thing, as you get into the training business or getting training, is that to understand that tools are easy to learn, right? But mindset is not. You can have the best of the tool. You may know how to code in Python or even work Tableau and drag and drop. But unless you know how to problem solve, you can spend endless hours. Even a small data set, 1,000 columns, 1,000 rows, and let's say 7, in fact, 5 columns. We have that kind of problem in when we hire an analyst. We give them a very simple problem to solve. And when the mindset is not there, people can spend that problem is, I would say, a good analyst should be able to solve it in an hour. But and that's why we use it as a way of our baselining. That problem, just 1,000 rows, 5 columns, I believe. It takes people sometimes 10 hours because they don't have that mindset, or they don't know problem solving or step by step how to do analytics, and still not get to the right insights. Data is like that. The world of data, even, I mean, it's such a small data set, 1,000 rows and some columns. It's a small data set. Even within that, how you can slice dice is it's infinite. And so so as you get to learn and take training, think about that. Try to learn the mindset and pay for mindset. Tools are easy to learn. Tool training are free, right? Most of them you can just go online and do a course in Python, or Tableau has their own inbuilt tutorials, or any other tool. Power BI has a lot of good essential training, free as well, video training. Don't spend too much time on tools. I would say mindset and the framework. We already talked about what the job requires and what your gap is. And so you've already started down that path of identifying the skills you need. As you look at skills training, this is my tips for you of what you should look for. Look for training, not theoretical, but which is job ready. We all went to college and we all learned, probably many of us learned theoretical physics. I learned Fourier series. I'm never going to apply it in mathematics, advanced mathematics. I learned, my major, one of my major was civil engineering, and I was going to become a civil engineer. So it's a different path. But there are things I learned there. Like, for example, I know how to build bridges and so on and so forth. That's not going to be applicable to my current learning. So because we are very focused, we already did step 1 and 2, and we identified our gap. Now you want the kind of training you need for data science needs to be job ready and hands-on, right? There is no theoretical learning in the world of data science and analytics. Unless you've done that and gotten lost in a 1,000-row, 5-column data set, you can't get the feel of analytics. And also, there are too many of those things out there, which is like take a simulated data and solve it. It's not going to help you solve real business problems. Real business problems don't come in that way of simulated data. And I built a lot of simulated data back in days. 20 years ago, I didn't have data sets, so I was building that. When I came to Adobe, I realized that the simulated data and the real data and the real business problems are very, very different. And nothing prepared me for that. It really took me a long time, some bearing to actually orient myself to, wait a minute, I know some advanced methodologies. I know how to do nonlinear regression. How do you take that and apply it to reduce my customer churn? That gap, that connection was impossible for me to figure out. So today you have lots of options. Go for programs which are solving real business problems versus theoretical learning. And if you can get hands-on client-facing experience, nothing like it. Again, work on real data we talked about, and access to expert mentors. Again, if that's something you can get access to, it's priceless, because and this is where so I speak at a lot of conferences, and I'm often not often, I would say 20 to 30% of my conferences, I'm speaking often with people who are coming from the academic side, professors. And I can tell you one big difference between what a professor would say and what I would say would be this tribal knowledge of being on the ground. I don't really care what theoretically is possible by recursive neural network or CNNs. What I see in the real world, the kind of data I see is more real than any academic. I come from academia, so I understand that approach. You want access to mentors who do what you want to do, if you can, and if you can get one-on-one career coaching, that's also something I would recommend. So I know it's a tall list, but if you can get that, this is going to be your fastest way to getting the right skills and getting trained. And the other thing is access to community. For those of you who are on the path to become really a data scientist, the path is sometimes really long and lonely. You're spending hours trying one algorithm after another. Random forest is throwing error, and your tree is not converging, and your error is growing, and it's not making sense. So both from the technical perspective as well as the path, because it's some time of learning, access to community is very important. So make sure that you are potentially joining a program which gives you access to community people you can talk to. And many programs are doing that, so it should be easy. Let's talk about tools. We talked about skills training, tools training. Again, tools are easy to learn and they are available. So let's say you identified that the job required you to do some coding in R and then also some SQL training or whatever else. You can, depending on, again, because we're not boiling the ocean, you look for whatever the common jobs that you are looking for, they are asking for. Focused on, really explaining the fundamentals, like graded boosted. What is graded boosting? How does it even work? Which explains this whole cost loss function very well. And you can see some of that in the Amazon, I would say Amazon reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of focus on the business side, I would say, because if you're learning to become, for example, you're learning to become a marketing analyst, pick up a book or two on just marketing analytics that folks are writing about. That they might be talking about metrics that matter and so on and so forth. There's, by the way, a lot of good resources. I do a weekly podcast called CDC Growthonomics, which is very focused on CDC startups, and it's talking about, hey, if you're a fintech, how do you do this? ABC. And it's like 5-minute videos and talks very specifically about that. That might be useful. And as you learn about something, like, for example, we're talking about quote analysis, and you like that, like how we're presenting, then you can do a Google search and find books specific to that as well. So that would be my approach to doing it.
Yeah, and I think everyone at Data Science Dojo would agree with learn the mindset, learn how to solve a problem, and learn how to identify your business problem and translate that to a machine learning problem. Tools are easy.
Tools really are easy, even though it looks not so.
Yeah, it looks complicated.
Yes, exactly. I am I've changed not only. Let's see. Great. It's almost looking right. I changed laptop. I also changed OS. I went from a Windows to my Mac, and so some of the things may not look right, but pardon that. So I wanted to now circle back. We are coming to the hour. I want to circle back to some of the big myths of analytics, right? Or data science career transition. If you think, irrespective of where you're at, you need a data master's degree, that's like really not correct. I have 2 masters, so it's not like I have anything against getting a master's degree. But sometimes you don't need it. You're like trying to build a rocket to get from, you just want to go from one city to another. Take a plane. It already exists. Don't need to build a rocket for yourself and then launch yourself. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. You don't need just because you want to get into analytics field doesn't mean you need a master's degree.
Another one is I can pick up a job or two, a course or two, MOOC courses. There's so many out there, Udemy, Nano Degrees, whatever. I can pick up a course or two and I'm going to land my dream job. That thinking doesn't help. Again, think from the perspective of what floats your boat, what are the skills required there, what are the gaps you have, and then work out what skills you need. Just don't take random courses and expect to get anything out of there. In spite of my years of experience, I have to start in entry-level analytics. No. All you've done 5 years in as an agent, 3 years, being on the retail side, whatever you've done, you should leverage that to find the nearest point to analytics. You do not start entry-level analytics. You don't need to. It's the story that you're telling. I'm going to speed through some of this because we've wasted some time. And sorry about the X's are coming. I changed my OS and now things don't look right. Another one I hear from people, oh my God, these jobs, they have like these many job requirements. I have to meet all these job requirements. I can possibly not do that. You don't have to. That's where you need to start discerning between the must-haves and the nice-to-haves and preferred and all of that. And it's also, for example, a job requires that you know Tableau. If you know anything else which is similar, Business Object, Power BI, it's translatable. So think about how to extend, and I'm going to talk about that resume also. I want to speed through some of this. You don't need a formal education in statistics and data, depending on where you want to end up at. And then the last one is that I can't do programming. It's scary these days with all the pre-built libraries, pre-trained models. If you just take the scary part out, you can do anything. And so it's worth a try. I'm going to talk quickly about right job, right resume, interview. No, it doesn't work that way. It's also a luck. And then I'm going to talk about what that luck is. Luck is something you can influence by making sure that your resume is right. You are in the right frame of mind. So I'm going to talk about some of this very quickly. Don't apply randomly, be focused. Our entire process was about focus, figure out what you want, and then work backwards from there. Internal transfer is the best because you can easily, if you've been, for example, working as a front-end fraud agent, for you to become a fraud analyst is easy because you're just internally transferring within the company as well as in the domain. And then search the right job sites that might be different for different, depending on where you're at. Use your contacts. Get those informational interviews, and then make direct contacts if you can on LinkedIn. On resume, again, I have a golden rule that you have only 8 seconds to be in the yes pile and the no pile. 8 seconds. So that means you have to tell one story and tell it very quickly and explain the so what. So yes, you have all these requirements, all these beautiful credentials. So what? So what meaning, how does it relate to what I'm asking for? It needs to be relevant to the requirement they have. Also show numbers. I did this project and it potentially, like I was a call center agent. I was a front agent. I did this and this is what the impact it drove. People like impact because we can all relate to cost saved, revenue made, and so on and so forth. And then one thing I really would highly encourage, don't use empty words. If you don't, you learn something, K-means clustering, and people start throwing that in the interview, you're going to find yourself in a big hole. Don't use empty words. Talk about the things that you do know intelligently, but the things that you don't know, be honest. Basically don't just because the keyword said advanced analytics, you start putting in random forest and CNN there. Don't do that. You're gonna be a problem. And then again, another thing I'd say is do use active words. What did you do to get what? Here's one format I try to use, which makes it very easy for you for people to consume your resume in less than 8 seconds. What is the job requirement and what's your background? How do you prove that job requirement? Somebody wants you to be able to manage sizable team across cross-functional, whatever. You show how you've done that in your past, right? And the same way, decode every job requirement and do a mapping. And that way you're making it easy. There's a book by Steve Crook called Don't Make Me Think. I know it's not related to analytics, but it's related to, in a way, UX, UI, and human decision making. I highly recommend that if you're interested. Basically, make things easy for the people. And this kind of format makes it easy for your recruiter to put you in the yes bucket. And then it's also not one and done. A lot of people come and tell me, before, I mean, I'm talking about 20 years ago when I was helping people transition. I applied to so many jobs. I haven't heard back. How many jobs you applied to? I applied to 20. Well, you applied to 20, you haven't given the funnel an opportunity to work through. So my golden rule of thumb, 150 to 180 jobs application, especially if you're going to career transition, you're going to get a call back from 50, you're going to interview 10, and maybe you get 1 or 2 offer. So be willing, understand this is also a marketing funnel. You will have to do a lot more application upfront. Unless, of course, you do internal transfer, it's a different story. But as you're applying externally, think about that. And then the last step I want to talk about is how do you ace the analytics interview and land the job? Some of this is very, very broad. Research the company, practice your story, tell one story with your resume, and tell the same story in the interview. Don't change your story in between. Anytime there's a disconnect between what you're saying and what you're writing, you are creating decision paralysis in people's mind. Don't do that. It's going to increase the time to decision and create doubts in their mind. Prepare for technical interviews and also prepare for questions. You need to appear intelligent and curious about what you're going for. Again, lastly, don't be afraid to show your passion. Demonstrate problem-solving skill. Problem-solving skill is one of the core skills for anybody who's doing analytics. Can you take a big problem, chunk it down into smaller problem, and structure it? That's problem-solving skills, and you can learn it. So the Bader framework that I was talking about earlier, which is also there in the book, Behind Every Good Decision, also there in our courses, we are teaching that. So you can learn problem-solving. It's not you either have it or not. The rest of the thing, ask questions, be respectful, be honest. Be honest. Don't use empty keywords. I can't stress this enough. I don't know how many people I've seen in interviews who are just trying to use big words, thinking the other. I mean, you're interviewing with somebody who understands analytics. You're going to end up in a hole. So don't do that, and show confidence, but be humble, right? If you really understand something, show that. But don't be arrogant. Listening skills, very, very important. Very important for interviews, very important for any analyst. Lastly, I would just say it's a must for success. Analytics aptitude, make sure that you have it. Analytics skills development is not optional. You really have to understand the gap and then don't oversolve it. Just get the skills that you need. Transitioning within your organization is easiest industry function. Don't leave your current job to transition. Please don't. It puts unnecessary pressure financially on you, and it's just not needed. So don't do that. You can do a lot of this in parallel. And yes, you do need to build your resume completely. Your fraud agent resume is very different than your fraud analyst resume. Even though they'll take from each other, but they're very, very different. So be willing to come to a blank paper and write your resume from scratch. I'm sorry, I have rushed through this. Be inspired in action, do the best you can, but make sure that you are following your passion. Choose hands-on job-ready training. Enroll in a program that gives you complete end-to-end career transition, if possible. Work on real problem with real clients and have a support group. This is going to be my transition advice to you. Invest time, be willing to spend time. So that we talked about it, our 5 steps. Is this your path? ID your target job profile. What floats your boat? For that, what skills you need, and get skilled. Prepare your 8-second resume. Again, what the job requires, how do you show that? Whether through your projects, through your program and training projects, or whether it's your past work. Make sure that you prepare for the interview and get your job. So I personally train thousands of people. These are real people from my real transition. So yes, you can do it. Many others have done. And I'm sorry I haven't left much time for 1 minute.
Yeah, we'll try to answer a couple of questions. Maybe we'll go like 5 minutes over if that works with your schedule, or do you have a hard stop?
That's okay. It's an
Okay.
introduction. So
Okay,
that's
let's try and answer a couple of questions and then we'll let you off the hook. So this is from, and I apologize to this person in case I mispronounced their name. I think it's Wasini. So this person says, I think everyone wants a job, but I don't want to seem like all I want from you is a job while networking or talking to someone new. How do you develop a deeper level of connection while at networking sessions or data science conferences?
That's a very good question. Initially, when you're on like your first job or something, it feels like you're very needy and you're having those conversations from that very needy perspective. And nobody likes needy people. So even though I want to help, there's needy is sort of like so I would say always approach the conversation with the perspective of how can I help you too. And just because you're looking for a job doesn't mean you're not able to help. You can help in kind, you can help people in different ways. Having that attitude itself changes stuff, right? Where you are, and also drop that agenda, relax and know that the right job is there for you. And that the person in front of you is not necessarily, there is not necessarily a one person who needs to serve a function for you to get that job. If you're open and curious and open to possibilities, the right job is also looking for you. Not only are you looking for the job, the hiring manager is looking for you. Believe that. Just as much as you are looking for the job, the hiring manager is looking for you. So if you believe that, you can rest and relax. And then approach the conversation without much agenda, be curious, ask questions, and be willing to help. And that, I think, might do the trick.
Perfect. And then this is from GB. What's the best path for someone who has just finished their PhD in STEM and has independent training in data science? It seems like the lack of industry experience is really hard to make up for.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I was, my first job at Adobe. I had a lot of statistics. STEM was my background, but I really didn't understand. But you're obviously more here because you have a data science training, what is called data science now. Even I didn't have that. Even what is data science? But I would say again, if you are able to follow this step, what is the ideal job for you? If you have PhD in STEM, you have data science. Figure out follow this step. What is the ideal job for you? And then go from there. What is the skill gap? How do you tell the story? How do you show people this is the job that they need? And how do you package what you have into exactly one-to-one mapping? If you are able to do just that mental exercise and write it in a piece of paper, your resume starts telling the story. You practice that story, you got it, because you have all the fundamentals. Many people will take that project, where you're talking about this PSR. I mean, guys might be familiar with the format: problem, solution, result. PSR format. Again, in resume, you should use PSR format. In interview, you should use PSR format. I think I talk about it in my book. Problem, solution, result. If you'd like, write that even your project in that format. You got it. You're showing that you have applied it.
Okay, and what are a few things or mistakes you see while people are transitioning from a non-data science career?
I talked about some of the myths. People like to pick up courses and think that they can do it. They haven't thought through where they want to end up, and they start random courses. They keep training for years, but nothing is towards where they want to go really, because they don't know where they want to go. Yeah, lots of those. I think if you follow this path, if this path resonates with you, and if you follow this path, you will already avoid a lot of those big potholes that I see people stumble into.
Okay, so we're going to do 3 more questions. 2 of them are pretty quick. But the first one is, where'd it go? How did you know it was time to strike out on your own with your journey?
Oh, with airing. Yeah, I mean, I just saw a need for data science done right in the industry. And then after that, it's just a matter of finding the courage that I have what it takes, and also giving myself that rope that I will fail initially and not have giant expectation. I got it. Or maybe I had that in the forefront, like I got this, but back, I gave myself that rope that I will fail first. In any startup, it takes many pivots, left, right, before you understand how you're going to package what you're trying to do and how does it meet the market and so on and so forth. So I just saw a need. I think it starts from a need, and then then giving yourself that rope to try things and go for it.
Okay, and then the two quick questions. What is the name of the podcast again?
CDC Growthonomics.
CDC Growthonomics.
And
okay,
the CDC meaning the funding round, Series C.
Series C. Okay.
C Growthonomics. So we're very much talking to startups in that, but I think you guys will find relevance too.
And can you find that on like anywhere where you would find a podcast?
It's on my LinkedIn. So if you follow me, I keep posting there. But I think you should be able to find it in Spotify and other places too.
Okay. And then do you have an Instagram handle? Someone would like to give you a follow.
No, I don't. I haven't yet found myself there.
Okay.
Unfortunately. I think Twitter and LinkedIn, already those things are overwhelming for me.
Yeah. You can only handle so much social media. I totally get it.
It's like,
all right. Well, before we sign off here, I am just going to steal the screen from you for a second to talk about tomorrow's webinar. If I can find my share screen. There we go. Okay, so for tomorrow, we have Dr. Richard Hubner with us, and he's going to be doing an introduction to hierarchical clustering with college scorecard data. I always have a hard time with that word. And he's a senior data scientist at Nelnet. I just talked with him actually right before this webinar, really nice guy. But we're going to be, participants are going to learn how hierarchical clustering methods build clusters from the ground up, and what are the benefits of this clustering, and so on and so forth. So, and I think we lost, or I think we may have lost Priyanka again, but Priyanka, if you are listening or if you ever watch the recording of this, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you everyone for joining. I know we had some technical difficulties, but I'm glad we were able to work through them. There will be a recording of this session that we'll make available. It usually takes a day or two to get the editing done and everything, but we'll make that available. It'll be on our YouTube channel as well as on our website, online.datasciencedojo.com. If you joined us on Zoom, or if you RSVP'd on our website, we'll shoot you an email to let you know when that's live. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope you